In this week's version of scientific facts, statistics, and data that the manosphere would rather you not know. A quick observation. There are a few reasons that grown men may find themselves attracted to prepubescent children. One reason, the most rare of them, is that they are genuinely a pedophile. There is something wrong with them where they are not sexually attracted to adults. This does not make them evil people, especially if they are dedicated to not acting on these urges. There are those that are attracted to children not because they are genuine pedophiles, they are genuine predators. What is attracted to them is preying on the innocent. But there is also a third option, I suspect, and this is my opinion, but I believe it is well supported. It is probably one of the more common reasons men in the manosphere find themselves talking about pedophiles and hebophiles and ehebophiles and making that distinction. When you're splitting hairs like that, you are wanting to have sex with children in some capacity as a grown adult, and that is at least worthy of some reflection. I suspect that one of the reasons some men find themselves more easily attracted to younger I suspect that one of the reasons misogynists in particular find themselves being more attracted to very young girls is that prior to puberty, girls do not have secondary sex characteristics. Sexual attraction is a bit of a dilemma for misogynists because they hate women, yet also feel the need to have sex with them and be attracted to them, even though that doesn't make a lot of sense. So, one way they can do that is by preying on girls. One thing misogynists hate about women is when women are more knowledgeable, more experienced, or better at anything, really, than any man, because it erodes their sense of superiority, which, as these aren't men who are very secure in themselves, these are men that don't have a lot of things to be proud of or to celebrate. Their identity comes from being superior to women, and they protect that at great cost. So finding young women, vulnerable women, that they can bully, that they can boss around, that they could break down, that they can keep small, that they can control, is a lot more appealing. They don't have much interest in a woman that wants them but doesn't need them, because that's scary to them, because then she could just leave and live a perfectly happy life. Of course, if you really love someone, you don't want them just to be dependent on you. You want them to willingly be by your side because they like you. But that requires a lot of emotional depth and work and a personality that is not hateful and spiteful. It requires you to have joy in your life. It requires you to express positive emotion. It requires you to be more than just a mean bully and a bigot. Most women are not going to be attracted to that, and the kind that are, they probably are not going to like, because the kind that are going to be a lot like them and not very likable for good reason. So that's just a theory of mine. You could take it with a grain of salt, but I suspect that these are men that are either threatened by adult women or aren't attracted to women and find it easier to be with a female that looks a lot less like an adult woman and more like a male. Ultimately, misogyny has always been rooted in insecurity and fear. Men needing to dominate and control women because they don't trust themselves, they don't trust women to willingly love them and be their partners, simply because they are deserving of that love and can be good partners. They don't want to put in that work. They don't value women enough to see them worthy of putting in that work, but they still want all the benefits of those relationships. And they don't seem to realize that when you actually love someone, it isn't a chore to do things for people you care about. It's actually one of life's greatest joys. It doesn't mean that you're a simp. It's definitely not something you should be ashamed of. Appreciating things about women that go beyond penetrating them and how well they fit conventional beauty standards, how much you can get other men's respect through being close to them, because misogynists are obsessed with what other men think about them. And the funny thing is that as much as they defend their views as being in any way related to evolutionary biology and instinct, which they're not, and I've went over some of the reasons that is, if they really did care just about producing viable offspring and getting laid, they would be the biggest simps, because that would be a lot more effective than being mean to women. But they don't really care about getting laid as much as they claim. It's all about their own ego and the way other men perceive them, which, again, is a bit gay. And if you look at their obsession with looks maxing and basically giving themselves anorexia and body dysmorphia to fit this ultra masculine ideal. It definitely is not what most women want. It is not attractive to most women. And it is a bit more popular with gay men. Correct me if I'm wrong. I love to talk to anyone who has good ideas, even if they don't agree with me. But if you don't have any valid arguments against any of my points, you can insult me. To me, it just shows that you don't have any actual arguments against what I'm saying, and that makes you uncomfortable. So you think maybe if you take me down a peg, that cognitive dissonance won't sting as much. It doesn't work, though, because I really don't care what you think about me. I would prefer misogynists are not attracted to me. I do prefer that you comment on my videos, though, because it helps more people see them, helps more misogynists see them, and that's kind of the point. Because I think some of them are smart people, and maybe they'll start questioning this stuff and get their heads out of their asses and go to therapy and deal with their emotions in a mature way, a constructive way, a healthy way, and make their lives better. Or at least not make women's lives worse. One can hope. One last thought. I would challenge, well, anyone willing to take up the challenge, to show me any anti-feminist, any red pillar, who does the type of content I do, except for feminists. If you can tell me any red pillars that are in good faith trying to correct feminist misinformation or feminist misunderstanding, because sometimes they act as if feminists are brainwashed and suffering because of feminism. And if they are empathetic people, or if they are superior, as they seem to believe themselves to be, you'd think that they would be moved by this and want to help feminists, and want to give them resources and better arguments and more data to show how they're wrong. I really haven't seen that, at least not from anti-feminists. So, that's the challenge. And to be perfectly honest, I don't think I've had any red pillar give any true counter to any of my claims. One person did point out that my views on MGTOW were outdated, and I don't really deny that. I just, as I've said before, I don't see any evidence that they have done a complete 180 from the misogyny that they were, without a doubt, founded upon. And I am open to seeing this evidence. And the groups I was active in were banned for misogyny. They all kind of were booted off Reddit over time, and whether or not you agree with that, I think it does lend some credence to the fact that they are a misogynistic group. It's not just incels. Incels, of course, are mad about not getting laid. MGTOW are claiming it's just not worth it because, well, there's the crux of it. I would like an answer to that because women want equality, because we want our sexual pleasure to be valued equally, because we want financial independence, want to be respected. What is it exactly? Because men's lives are dramatically improved from having a relationship with a woman, but the opposite is not true, and women are still burdened with all this housework, while also, for most of us, still working full-time jobs like men are. Are you okay with that? Do you think that's fair? And if so, why? Why should one group be burdened with more work while simultaneously getting less wealth, less free time, less respect?